Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio, and today I have saved the biggest news for last, and that is Scarlett Johansson sues Disney over Black Widow's Disney Plus release. Black Widow star Scarlett Johansson filed a lawsuit against Marvel over the release of the movie on streaming, citing it as a breach of contract. Now, I know that I showed you the headline from the Screen Rant article. However, I am actually going to be reading the article that the Wall Street Journal put out, because not only did they break the story, they have a lot more information pertaining to this particular lawsuit that Screen Rant leaves out. So, not wanting to omit any information given, how big it is, given the fact that this is a litigation, I want to get all the information in here. So without further dilly-dallying, let's just get right into the article. Again, this coming from the Wall Street Journal. Black Widow has a new enemy, the Walt Disney Company. Scarlett Johansson, star of the latest Marvel movie, Black Widow, filed a lawsuit Thursday in Los Angeles Superior Court against Disney. So by the time this goes out, I'm pulling up my calendar here. Okay, the lawsuit was filed on July 29th, 2021. Filed a lawsuit Thursday in Los Angeles Superior Court against Disney, alleging her contract was breached when the media giant released the film on its Disney Plus streaming service at the same time as its theatrical debut. Ms. Johansson said in the suit that her agreement with Disney's Marvel Entertainment guaranteed an exclusive theatrical release, and her salary was based in large part on the box office performance of the film. Now, I, for the life of me, cannot remember what stream I was on. But I remember calling this out over a year ago and saying that the simultaneous releases, both on, you're going to have a release on streaming and in in theaters, is going to lead to a lot of breach of contract suits, because a lot of these big name actors, a lot of their salary, they get a cut of the ticket sales from the box office, and that's how they're making such high salaries. Well, if you're gonna have streaming, eat into the if you're gonna have streaming eat into the box office revenue, of course they're gonna sue, and they're gonna cite that. But anyway, let's get back to the article. Disney intentionally induced Marvel's breach of agreement without justification in order to prevent Ms. Johansson from realizing the full benefit of her bargain with Marvel, the suit said. A Disney spokesman said Ms. Johansson's suit had no merit and is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The company said it, quote, fully complied with Ms. Johansson's contract, and furthermore, the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date, end quote. The suit could be a bellwether for the entertainment industry. Major media companies are giving priority to their streaming services in pursuit of growth and are increasingly putting their high-value content on those platforms. Those changes have significant financial implications for actors and producers who want to ensure that growth in streaming doesn't come at their expense. And I think that that's a good thing. But see, and this is the funny part, is that you have these major media companies that are like going all in on these streaming services, thinking that the streaming services are going to be the end all be all, when in reality they actually aren't making as much money as they used to when they just license their content out. And I think this is where Sony has the upper hand, because instead of starting their own streaming service, they're just licensing their content out. Now, we're going to have to wait and see what the true financials are, if it was better for these companies to just license their content out versus owning their own platform. But again, the numbers are not out on that. But back to this article here. This will surely not be the last case where Hollywood talent stands up to Disney and makes it clear that, whatever the company may pretend, it has a legal obligation to honor its contracts, said John Berlinski, an attorney at Castlewitz Benson Torres LLP, who represents Ms. Johansson. Yes, and the one case that I'm thinking of right off the top of my head is the Alan Dean Foster lawsuit where Disney, after acquiring both 20th Century Fox and Lucasfilm, just decided they didn't want to pay Alan Dean Foster the royalties that he was contractually obligated to receive anymore. And their argument is, oh, when we bought Lucasfilm and 20th Century Fox, we acquired their assets and not their liabilities. Which you and I both know is complete horse shit, but they're actually trying to run with that. And more recently, and people forget about this, Bill Nye brought a lawsuit against Disney within the last couple of years, and it just got ruled on in court. Disney beat Bill Nye because apparently Bill Nye was not receiving royalties for the episodes of Bill Nye and the Science Guy when they were, on streaming. He was only receiving the sales from the DVDs, and Bill Nye basically made the argument, hey, back in 1993 when this contract was drafted up, there was no way we could have predicted that streaming would even be a thing. Now he did ultimately lose against Disney. So right there, you already have case law that is pretty detrimental. But, if it is true that this movie was guaranteed to be released exclusively theatrically, this is a whole separate can of worms, and the implication of the Bill Nye lawsuit has no standing in this. The suit also notes that the annual bonuses for Disney Chairman Bob Iger and Chief Executive Bob Chapek are tied to the performance of Disney Plus, and cites that as further motivation for putting Black Widow on the service. Disney disclosed in its 2021 proxy that Messrs. Iger and Chapek both received bonuses of the success of Disney Plus. In short, the message to and from Disney top management was clear. Increase Disney Plus subscribers, never mind your contractual promises, and you will be rewarded, the suit said. Disney began releasing movies simultaneously on Disney Plus and in theaters, partly because of the COVID-19 pandemic, when theaters were closed or at limited capacity, and partly to boost the nascent service. AT&T Inc.'s Warner Media, which operates the HBO Max streaming service, is following a similar strategy for its entire 2021 slate of Warner Brothers movies, which I have already covered in detail. Comcast Corp's NBC Universal has since followed suit with the release of the Boss Baby Family Business both in theaters and on its Peacock streaming service. Warner Media chose to renegotiate many of its talent contracts that, like Miss Johansson's deal with Marvel, were tied to box office performance. Warner Brothers paid more than $200 million to talent as part of amended arrangements. Yes, I remember when Wonder Woman 1984 was going to be a simultaneous release on both HBO Max and in theaters. Both Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins received, I think, $10 million each as a result of the amended agreements. Miss Johansson has been an integral part of the Marvel Universe since appearing as Black Widow in 2010's Iron Man 2. Her presence has grown significantly since then as a member of the Avengers Squad of Heroes alongside Captain America and the Incredible Hulk. Her character died in the 2019 blockbuster Avengers Endgame. Spoilers, man! And the spin-off film in theaters now takes place before the events of that movie. According to the complaint, Miss Johansson's representative sought to renegotiate her contract after learning of the dual release strategy for Black Widow, which she has said is her 9th and last Marvel movie. Disney and Marvel were unresponsive, the suit said. Well, no fucking shit. They did this with Alan Dean Foster. It's basically, we're not going to respond to it and hope that you either die or go away. That's Disney's MO at this point. The decision to put the movie on Disney Plus is projected to cost Miss Johansson more than $50 million. A person familiar with details of her contract claimed. I scrolled a little too far. Here we go. Even before the pandemic, Miss Johansson was concerned that Black Widow could end up on Disney Plus as part of its wide release. In 2019, so this goes back to a couple years. In 2019, Miss Johansson's representatives reached out to Marvel seeking assurance that Black Widow would have a theatrical-only release according to the complaint. In a March 2019 email included in the suit, Marvel Chief Counsel David Galluzzi said the release would be according to a traditional theatrical model, adding, quote, We understand that should the plan change, we would need to discuss this with you and come to an understanding, as the deal is based on a series of very large box office bonuses, end quote. During its July 9th opening weekend, Black Widow grossed $80 million at the domestic box office and $78 million overseas, and generated another $60 million from the $30 at-home purchase on Disney+. That is if Disney's numbers are to be believed, but for the sake of argument, we'll say it made $60 million on Disney+. It was the first time Disney broke out a film streaming performance in such detail. Disney shares ticked upward on the news that Monday. The movie's theatrical performance fell in the subsequent days more sharply than most Marvel films. Some analysts and executives in Hollywood questioned whether making the movie easy to watch at home was hurting box office results. Now, here's where I'm going to personally chime in. Personally, I think this was a movie that was released at the wrong time. I don't believe that this movie would have done gangbusters as a result, because we already know what happens to Black Widow. And I said this in my other Black Widow videos. Had this movie come out in 2016, 2017 at the absolute latest, it probably would have done gangbusters, but releasing it even in 2020 is releasing the movie at the wrong time. But getting back to the article, the National Association of Theater Owners, a lobbying group for exhibitors, called the performance disappointing and anomalous, and proved that exclusive theatrical releases were the most profitable approach. Internally, some executives at Disney worried that an at-home release would tarnish the overall appeal of the Marvel brand, which has produced the biggest offerings in Hollywood over the past several years. Disney's Marvel Studios has had unprecedented success in modern-day Hollywood, releasing 24 titles that regularly collect more than $1 billion in global ticket sales. The movies, in turn, activate a cycle of revenue from toy sales to theme park attractions. As the franchise has grown, it has become a magnet for big stars who sign up to portray the heroes and villains of the Marvel movies and shows. And that's how the article concludes. So it sounds like Disney just completely went around the deal making and just decided, fuck it, we're gonna release this simultaneously and damn the consequences. You know, it kind of reminds me of that pretty famous Robot Chicken skit.
This deal's getting worse all the time.
Furthermore, I wish you to wear this dress and bonnet.
This was never a condition of our arrangement.
I have altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Yeah, that one where Darth Vader was constantly making the deal worse every time Lando kept complaining. I can only show a little bit of it because, you know, Warner Media and Cartoon Network might be a little bitch and, you know, claim even just that much. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it right here because as I showed, this is why I wanted to read the Wall Street Journal article, is that I wanted to show that this complaint actually goes back a couple of years. And if I had actually stuck with the Screen Rant article this time, all of that information sadly would have been lost. So let me know what you guys think about Black Widow, and whether or not, like, was it a movie that simply released at the wrong time? Would it have actually done gangbusters? Did the simultaneous release actually cost Scarlett Johansson $50 million? In your opinion, of course, it may have. I don't know. I am not privy to the contracts, and neither are you. So if you stuck around this long, thanks so much for doing so. And if you've been following me for long enough, guys, you know I'm terrible at ending these, so I will just see you guys next time.